Alright, it's been a little while since I've done anything. I've just got a lot of things going on in the personal life. May see that I'm in a... Oh, shit. Might see that I'm in a different truck right now. That's because the other one, my normal one, is in the shop. One thing that I really wanted to bring to everybody's attention right now, that we should... a lot of people probably don't realize, and that's going to be the lack of freight on the West Coast. Now, I've been hearing from other people that the West Coast is no freight on the West Coast right now. For the past week, I'd say for about the past week, there's been no freight on the West Coast. Nothing coming out of California. Stuff going into Cali, yeah, but nothing really coming out. That affected me for the first time. I've never actually had to wait around for a load to be available. In my entire career of driving a truck until about last week. Hang on, guys. Let me get up this hill real quick. I am driving possibly the ugliest vehicle on the road, and it is a very, very hideous Volvo. I hate the way these things look. The average driver that drives them isn't really all that great. I'm not saying anybody or everybody that drives a Volvo is bad at driving, but the average, Anyways, so the lack of freight on the West Coast over the past week, I don't know exactly how it's going to affect the rest of the country, except there's a lot of stuff that comes out of Los Angeles. There's a lot of stuff that comes out of that area. There's a good bit of stuff that comes out of the Bay Area as well, and I haven't been picking anything up over there. The other day I got a load coming out of LA, but it wasn't actually out of LA itself. It was Moreno Valley, kind of like Paris area. Anyways, it was only a Harbor Freight load. It was coming from a Harbor Freight, going to a Harbor Freight store. So coming from a distribution center, going to an actual store itself. That's all that was. It wasn't really anything too spectacular or special or anything like that. But it was, was restocking for another store. My load going into California last week was a Tesla load. That one was, its final destination was the Netherlands. So it wasn't even, staying in California. Now, apparently the loads have been okay on the East Coast. I don't know. I don't drive out on the East Coast. My buddy that does drive out on the East Coast, he was home all week, so I couldn't even ask him if he had anything out east, or how the freight was out east. I don't really know anybody. I do have a cousin that he actually does drive out on the East Coast. He was actually complaining that there was no freight in the Maryland area, which is it's port kind of place. So that, you know, there wasn't any freight over there for him. You know, it's been about a week of no freight on the West Coast. I don't know. I still don't know what the entire situation is looking like right now in California, because I'm in Arizona right now. So I still don't even know what California's looking like. I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of California right now. And you know, last week I had a deadhead empty miles, like 250 miles last week, just to get something, and then to have issues with that load coming out of California anyways. The numbers that my dispatch gave me didn't even match the pickup numbers for Harbor Freight initially, and then finally a day and a half later I finally got the load out of Harbor Freight going to Texas. But I had to wait a day and a half. And then on top of that, the whole, I had issues with the trailer. Like the driver that picked it up, it was a local driver. He didn't even check the trailer to see if there was any issues with it. He didn't mark any issues down with it. And, it had what was wrong with it? It had a license plate light that was missing entirely, so that wasn't even there. And then the right-hand turn signal wasn't even working, so there was issues with that. So I had to get that fixed. And then on top of that, my truck broke down the next day. So my truck is currently in Riverside right now. And what am I doing? I can do 70 miles an hour. One thing I will say with this Volvo though is I don't like the way they look, but it does, it does move when I put my foot to the floor, as you can see. It's governed at 70 miles an hour, but that's alright. It's fine by me. It moves, gets the job done. It's slurping diesel like crazy, but oh well. But guys, back to the whole freight issue out here on the West Coast. Los Angeles and in the Bay Area are, they're pretty big ports. They're gonna, a lot of stuff goes to the rest of the country out of those two places. Now, obviously, they're not the only ports where goods go across the United States. Obviously you've got like Maryland, Florida, all those kind of places, New Jersey, New York. You've got all those East Coast cities. I don't know anything really about them because I haven't driven on the East Coast in about 5 years, maybe. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been out east. I only stay out west. And mainly because of the overnight parking issues, and that the East Coast has, and it's overcrowded on the East Coast. I'm not saying California isn't overcrowded or anything, but it's what it is. Anyways, the lack of freight coming out of California, just out of the West Coast in general, I don't know if Oregon or Washington have or had any freight issues. No, because I rarely go up there, but I don't really know anybody that comes out of those two states. But me personally, I can tell that I had an entire day and a half of the only thing that I was doing was moving empty trailers from Dixon, California to French Camp. It's about 120 kilometers one way, 200 around 2.5 hours round trip. I did a bunch of those. And I was the only one in California actually making money out of my company that day, because I was the only one that was actually willing to do any kind of work. All the other drivers just decided they wanted to sit around, do absolutely nothing, and take layover pay. Meanwhile, I got layover pay and I got, working pay. And what the hell is going on over here? Oh, okay. I thought that bus was out actually like in the ditch for a second. It's not a bad looking bus though. Old school. But yeah, guys, I would expect the economy to actually start feeling, the lack of freight, maybe a little bit this week. Maybe in the next week there might be, you guys might actually feel a little bit of the lack of anything coming out of the West Coast. Because guys, a lot of things do actually come out of the West Coast. Again, Harbor Freight. That's one of the big distribution centers is out in the Los Angeles area. And, my company actually deals with Harbor Freight quite a bit, and there's multiple days at that Harbor Freight location that they didn't actually have anything from my company leaving this, their store. So God only knows, like what the economy is going to feel after all this. Hoping and praying that things are going to, pick up a little bit on the West Coast. I don't know what it's going to do. I do know I'm again taking something over to the West Coast right now. I'm going over to California, but I don't know what the situation is going to be like coming out of it. So, more shortages. No surprise there. So, guys, just stock up on whatever you can, if you get anything from like Harbor Freight, I'm not saying that they're not having anything, being delivered or anything, but you never know. So, stay vigilant as to what the shortages in your local area might be.